welcome everyone to Tier 1. Got our Rogue Energy, use code PHX for 10% off of your order. I didn't say that last time. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that one, but we're now jumping into qualifying for Tier 1. The best tier in the business. For this is the most competitive tier. In this tier, our drivers are all restricted for the assist that they can use. They have everything restricted. The only thing they have enabled for this season, and hopefully for future seasons as well, we'll have to see what is decided, is the racing line is enabled for the drivers, and manual and suggested gears. We do also have... well, nope, that's the only assist, and we have 16 drivers on the grid. I have everything together. If Lobster happens to look at this chat, he can know and be very happy to know that I have everything together now. I'm not missing information. But welcome to the Tier 1 stream as we have qualifying underway with 16 drivers on the grid. Unfortunately, Tier 2 is the better tier, clearly, because we got the most drivers there, whereas here we've only got 16. Though it'll still be an interesting qualifying. I have no game audio for some reason. There we go, the game audio is back. We can hear the cars go round. The first driver out on the grid is actually the one and only Mav, who's actually racing someone behind. I think that's, looks like a Williams racing behind. I think that might be Beb just behind. It is. So Mav's having a bit of a fun race for his outlap as we have a yellow flag already in the middle sector. I think that's Landshark having a bit of a moment in the rain. It is torrential downpour for this qualifying session. As you can see, they all have the full wet tyres are on. And we are not the FIA like IRL racing. We're not going to red flag the race, nor are we going to delay the race. We're going to get going and enjoy the weather as it is. Torrential downpour for the entire duration of the 18 minutes of qualifying, of which we only have 16 minutes remaining. About half the grid, more than half the grid, currently on an outlap. For the race session, it will be starting on the Inters tyres for a lot of the drivers, or most of the drivers. I say most, all of the drivers. If any of them manage to start on the slicks, I don't know why they've decided to do that. That's quite an interesting decision to start on. But the race will be light rain at the very start. And we expect the rain to cut out at around lap 6 or 7, as it has done for the past 3 tiers before this one. Tier 2 just earlier today, and Tier 3 and 4 yesterday. And the race will finish in the dry. Now let's see Mav, who's going to set the first hot lap of the session, the provisional pole time for everyone, as Beb is the second driver across the line as well. Let's see what Mav can do, as he does appear to have a bit of a moment, a little lock-up into that first corner as we go through La Source and now down towards Eau Rouge. We've seen a McLaren go spinning around this corner. Let's see if we have a McLaren sticking to that corner and getting through the circuit with ease. Now coming down towards Camel Straight, what can Mav do for the end of this first sector? It's just a drag race. DRS will be enabled once the dry tyres or the slicks are on and the weather. I can't get words out now, oh god. Once the conditions are clear, as he sets a 1:32.5 for the first sector. Let's see what he can do now going into Ravage for the second sector. Mav going very deep into the second part of that hairpin. Now onto the no-name corner. I love the fact that there's a corner that's got no name. And now he approaches into Huon. Let's see what he can do for corner 12. Mav, of course, not going flat out. In fact, he goes down to 6th gear and he invalidates just on the outside of that. So we're going to jump away from Mav as he invalidates. And the next provisional pole will go to Bev just behind him, who's now going to set the provisional time for the Sector 2. He's going through Lacombe now. He's going to now approach Stavelot to finish the second sector. We're going to see Beb with a 1:26.9, a very good start for the second sector, and a massive snap of oversteer there, trying to get onto the power a little too early, coming out of that corner now, coming around Blanchemont. He's going to come down towards the bus stop chicane. Let's see what Beb can do, slowing the car just in time. Some rear locking for the Williams driver, now round the final corner with Maverick just ahead of him, who's going to potentially start another hot lap back-to-back. Beb with a provisional timer, 1:58.7, as Wobby immediately smashes that lap time out of the water. 1.6 second improvement, immediately smashed again by Med with a half-second improvement, a 1:56.6. The times are now tumbling down the order. We'll have to see what... Okay, there we go. An immediate tumble down by 8/10. Oh, sorry, 1. No, yeah, 8/10. Rico with a new fast lap, fast lap, a 1:55.8. We've got Dante in the chat saying, go Takoda, go. We're going to see if Takoda can cook, as Takoda is, let's see if he's on a hot lap. He is on a hot lap, going through the second sector, sorry. So let's see what Takoda can do. As Ashling in the chat goes, go Mav. Let's see what Mav can do. So unfortunately, we did see him invalidate his first lap. Takoda with the fastest middle sector. Silent as well. Takoda Freeze might be the race winner. Let's see what pace he's got, as he does set a purple middle sector. 12 minutes left in the session. What can Takoda do in this first hot lap of this first round? His teammate is currently on pole, and I think Aston Martin might have a very good lineup, but I say that. And Takoda with the rear locking into the final corner, into the chicane, has lost all of that time, and Taco now crosses the line with a 2 minutes and 1 second lap time. It is Takoda drift into the bus stop chicane there, and unfortunately he has lost all of his time, all of his pace there. Hopefully he can rejuvenate that energy. Maybe he's going to go for a back-to-back hot lap. Let's have a look, going through a Rouge. Doesn't look like he's using any ERS, so he might be trying to charge that now before he goes for a second hot lap. But let's jump back forwards to Mav, who's now crossed the line. His first hot lap of the session is a 1:59.9, a very slow lap, I have to say, for Mav. I've certainly seen him get up there into some of the higher speeds, into the, I would assume he can get into the 1:58s, but this is a banker lap. It is going to take these drivers at least a couple laps to be able to put their tyres into the optimum range. Having said that, however, Rico puts it in the optimum range immediately with a 1:55. We have a current 4th row lockout for Williams, for McLaren. So a decent start so far for this qualifying session. Let's have a look at the rest of the drivers who are still yet to put out a lap. We've got Zitzi going through. I think he's just going to put in a banker lap. You can see he's at 100% ERS. So he's just trying to get his track. Oh no, never mind. He hasn't got a front wing. Zitzi, unfortunately, I think might have been the reason why we had a yellow flag. We do have a yellow flag for a Red Bull driver as well, if we go on board with him. He's also had a bit of a moment. It looks as though he's still got his front wing, though. So Alessio will still be able to go, but Zitzi, unfortunately, does not have a front wing, so he's going to have to dive in the pits and grab himself a fresh set of tyres, or a fresh wing, rather, as we have the Williams. The Williams for the real GOAT is out of this race. I mean, he managed to put in a qualified lap, but unfortunately going out of Le Com, he has lost control of his car, I would have to assume. And unfortunately, that will be the end of his race. Let's have a look at the rest of the drivers, because we still have quite a few to see. I'll come back to Takoda and we'll see how he's doing. First of all, we've got Moroccan just starting out his hot lap. He recently got a podium for Alpine in Tier 2 just a couple hours ago. So let's see what he can do in Tier 1, our no assist league, most competitive tier yet. And he's going to go through and do his hot lap. We do also have Rebellious currently going through the second sector. He's gone a bit wide there, going through Pouon. Hopefully he'll be able to recover some of that lap time into his second hot lap. But Takoda, you said Takoda's cooking. I went to go see him, and he's come drifting out of Le Com. And Rico with another fastest lap, improves by 3/10, continues to extend his lead now from 8/10 to 1.4 seconds, sorry. So now what can Takoda do? He's on the limit. You say he might be the best, Dante, but we'll have to see how far on the limit can he go, as he did once have a bit of a moment here. It's coming through into Le Com, now coming down towards La Source. He's keeping it very tidy, but it is the bus stop chicane. We saw Dakota have a moment, a massive moment. Another purple middle sector for Dakota. Pardon me, could this be an Aston Martin 1-2? We had a Mercedes 1-2 in Tier 2, but could it be an Aston Martin 1-2? As Mercedes is still yet to set a lap time. In fact, we have Moroccan just behind Dakota right now. So let's see as Moroccan goes into, Dakota into the bus stop chain. He keeps his car very well under control. No rear locking there for him. And now to the line, full speed. He improves by 2.5 seconds, but only improves back into 10th place. And Moroccan, for his first lap of the session, puts in a 1:57.4, an incredible lap time for Moroccan there, putting Mercedes up onto the second row of the grid. Unfortunately, his teammate still yet to put in a valid lap. Let's see who else is out on the track. We got Fat Cat over from Australia, which is why on our screen we will see a few jitters left and right. I mean a few. I mean quite a few. But we will have to see how Fat Cat does. Is he going to be able to secure a double podium for the Alpines in Tier 1 and 2? And having said that, he puts in a purple middle sector. Fat Cat. Let's see what he can do. Does he have a teammate on the track? He does. Fushi Wushi, currently sitting in P8. Likes to call himself the most handsomest person on the grid for Tier 1. So we'll have to see if he can prove that with his race pace on the track today. It looks like he's drifting, Fat Cat, but no, he's managed to keep it steady. He's low on fuel, but he crosses the line at full speed. And he puts in a 1:57.4. He's just 6 tenths, or 6/100, sorry, off of his teammate. Off of Moroccan, just ahead of him. So an incredible lap time for him. I apologize for messing up my words a little bit there, but let's see what... Okay. Immediately, the first race for Riyadh with Alfa Romeo. He's already set the first purple sector. So his first sector is purple. I am struggling today. I do apologize for this. But let's see what Riyadh can do. It is his first season with Alfa Romeo, teammate to Wobby McQueen, currently sitting in 3rd place. An incredible lap for him. I did say he can improve, and he has improved. So let's see what Riyadh can do. Can he get a second row lockout for the Alfa Romeos, or will he get into the top 2, put it on pole? I mean, he certainly seems to have the pace. He went very smoothly through Q1 there. Now coming into Le Combs, there's a Red Bull getting out of the way. In fact, drifting out of the way there. And I think that might have been Alessio just ahead of him. Now coming through Stavolo and now ending the second sector. That is a purple middle sector. Oh my god, we might have a new pole sitter. He is absolutely lighting up this track. Riyadh Jamakovic. I really hope I have pronounced that. I wanted to try and pronounce that. He is now coming into the bus stop chicane, and he is on fire, stopping just in time for the first corner. Now into the second corner. He's going to come round the final corner and to the line. Riyadh for Alfa Romeo puts it in for 6th place, and a 5-place grid penalty for Gamakachi for a collision with Rebellious. What's happened here? So we see that the Rebellious has retired from the race. Let's see, position 8. I think there might have been contact between the two of them, which is why has now resulted in the disqualification, the DNFing of the retiring of Rebellious. Oh my god, I can't get my words together. Wobby on an invalidated lap. Let's have a look at who else is around. Fat Cat's, I think, on his in lap. He's definitely on low fuel mode. Riyadh's just finished his lap, so he might be on a recharge. Doesn't look as though he's trying to push it just yet. Or is he? Maybe. Could we see Riyadh going for a back-to-back hot lap? We'll have to see further down the line as we look to see Gamagachi. 3/10 slower than his previous lap time. A very squirrely entrance into Lacombe there. And he's already invalidated his lap. Very unfortunate start for him. Beb getting out of the way for a fellow driver. Just passing him is this Alpine driver for Fushi Wushi, currently on an outlap. Lemav. Let's see what Lemav can do. Just finished his outlap. His name is Maverick. I've just put a nickname on him called the Lemav, so that's my bad. I will see. You say Takoda might just go P8. Takoda's on an outlap right now, going from P12. He's currently in the second sector, so we'll have to see if he's going to improve. But let's see what Mav can do. Let's actually jump on board with him. Going down the Camel Straight, it's going to be just a drag race for all the drivers in the rain and in the dry. Though in the dry, you will have a DRS advantage. The drag reduction system is the opening of the rear wing on the driver's car, which will reduce their drag, thus increasing their speed. Around Belgium, you can gain around about 10 to 12 kilometers per hour extra for having that rear wing open. Now coming through the reverse chicane, Mav's keeping it very well under control, having to snap the wheel back, keeping it in line to how he wants it. Now coming down towards the Puon corner. A long left-hander. We've seen many drivers, even in real-life racing, as Mav goes very wide, keeps it valid. And a very good save as well, as he has a snap of oversteer. Zitzi puts it in for 4th place, a 4th-5th lockout for the Mercedes of 157.343, sorry. Just 13 hundredths of a second splitting 4th and 6th, as we see Mav in the second sector, actually in the third sector. A snap of oversteer and just could not quite control the car, and unfortunately that will be his lap removed. And once the yellow flag's clear, he's got 1 minute and 42. That is it. He has to do either another lap on these tyres, or that is it for him, unfortunately. Still a continuous yellow flag there. I think that's going to be the Alfa Romeo. That's Riyadh there. I think he's just getting out of the way for fast approaching drivers. Rico crossing the line. He's going to do another lap. Oh no. Is Rico going to get his lap time into the 154s? This is going to be exciting to see if he manages to stick a lap together to improve it by just over 2/10 and get it into that time zone. But we'll have to see now as he comes down the Camel Straight. We're also going to go on board with a few other drivers. We've got Med currently going through Puon. He's appearing to match his first sector so far, so we'll have to see how Med does now into the second sector. He's going into Lacombe now, and he's got La Source just after a snap of oversteer. Unfortunately, that'll be a lot of time lost, and I think that'll be it for Med. We'll have to see how he recovers into this third sector. Wobby is on an outlap coming through Port. He's got 30 seconds left, and he certainly will reach the line in time. Zitzi's on a hot lap at the moment. He's actually going to come across the line now. His ERS is practically gone. Now to the line. Is it going to be an improvement from 4th place? He does improve. He improves into the 156, but unfortunately does not improve by enough to get his car out of the top 4. Moroccan, he's just gone onto grass there. He's out of this race. I think he's done with this race. He's happy with his 6th place. Certainly not the way to get out of this race, however. Fushy Wushy's going around. So still got a few drivers going around. Let's see where Rico is. Rico with a purple middle sector. What a time to switch over to him as Rico improves by 14 thousandths of a second. What can Rico do now in this final sector? He's going through Blanchemont. He's now got the bus stop chicane, and then it's the finish line right there for him. Rico is in a league of his own, but is he going to improve by enough to get into the 154s to the line? Can he do it? 154? No, it's a 155.3. Still an incredible lap, but unfortunately could not extend that lead. Webby going through the second sector now. He seems to have the low fuel symbol, but is he? No, I think that's just him flying on a hot lap. Let's see what Zitzi's doing. I think he might be going for a back-to-back lap, is he? He can't be, can he? I think he could. No, he's not. He's got ERS on recharge. Who else do we have? We got Dakota still on the track. Dakota going through the second sector now. Let's see what he can do when he crosses the line for the end of the second sector. A 1:38, 12 seconds down. He may not be on a lap, but it certainly could be an improvement in the second and third sector. He could find some pace if he wanted to. But the eyes are now on Wobby and Zitzi. I don't know if Zitzi's on an out lap, because he did have only 13% when he crossed the line. No, he's invalidated. So it is just all eyes on Wobby McQueen. And I think he's in low fuel mode. Wobby McQueen has finished his qualifying session, and no, in fact, he was just getting out of the way for an AI driver behind him. But that will be the end of qualifying, and Rico puts it on pole, Med in P2, and Wobby on P3, Zitzi P4, Moroccan in P5, and a nice donut for Wobby there at the end of qualifying. Congratulations to that P3, mate. We got 4 different constructors in the top 4, and this certainly will be an exciting start to the race and to the start to the season for Tier 1. I panicked there, my game froze. Well, that was certainly an exciting race. Unfortunately, Gamakichi does have a 5-place grid penalty here, which will demote him down to last place, as he had a collision with Rebellious, and I think that was the reason why Rebellious had died. Penalty is Rebellious's fault, is what he claims. We'll have to see what happens. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about that one issue, but the main talking point of this qualifying session has to be Rico with a whopping 1.4 second gap to second place. And then just from there, it's only 9 thousandths of a second between P2 and P3. So the top 3 absolutely on fire. Fat Cat saying he missed the pit entry and he could have been on P2. I mean, Fat Cat, you certainly had the pace. You certainly had the fire for tonight's race to be able to put it on P2. And it is very unfortunate. Though you still have 22 laps around Belgium to try and put it up there. And I think we might be able to see you do that quite comfortably. I reckon you are the type of driver to be able to... The type of driver who's very quick and very consistent to be able to put it up there. Or at least you've been improving in consistency. So now we typically would have the formation lap. However, that has been turned off. There's a lot of bugs resulting in drivers being disqualified, which is quite unfortunate and quite frustrating because EA can't make their games right. And there's nothing much we can do about it, which is quite annoying. So whilst we wait here, we have requested for the drivers to wait around about 30 seconds before they hit the start race button so that everyone has adequate time to set on some different race strategies. Of course, we do have Parc Fermé off. For those of you who have not seen our races before, Parc Fermé is off, so it allows drivers to choose their setups between the sessions. We have 5 red lights, and away we go. No formation lap. Let's see how this goes. Rico with a very tentative start. Med as well. Couple of cars ghosting at the back there, but so far, very clean start. I'm going to be very tentative with what I say there. Webby with a very good exit. However, not good enough to get ahead of Med. So the top 3 still stands. Top 4 as well. 5 Riyadh is up. Goat is up. Zitzi has moved a few positions down. He's moved 4 positions down, unfortunately. And so has Fushiwushi Takoda as well. He's gone down to 11th place. Gamakichi, after a 5-place grid penalty, has managed to find his way up into 12th place, and Landshark has tumbled down the order into last place, and it doesn't appear as though he's got any damage on his car, which is quite fortunate. Maverick as well has gone tumbling down into 14th place. He's now under pressure quite heavily by Rebellious. Now Rebellious going around the outside, he's got so much more grip, and I think Mav potentially could have some front wing damage there. I'm not too certain. But now with the inside line, maybe he doesn't have front wing damage. I think that's just their advertising on the front of their car. But Rebellious now with the inside line for No Name Corner takes the 14th place from him. But ahead of the pack, Med now leads the race. What has gone on here? Rebellious unfortunately losing the position there to Med, and Fat Cat as well. He's managed to gain 3 positions off of the line, and Wobby's down to 4th place. Moroccan staying very idly by and enjoying his 5th place by himself. Unfortunately, his teammate has gone tumbling down the order, and Riyadh and the Goat have gone through the order. I do understand that there may be some frustrations. Those of you who are watching can see that Fat Cat is jumping around the place. Unfortunately, there isn't much we can do about that. It is just purely the connection to the servers it is something that we do hope our drivers can manage quite comfortably. Fat Cat is a very good driver, and he's very quick. We've seen him race many times and win many races by incredible margins. It's Wobby! That wasn't Wobby, that was Riyadh. I think might have had a bit of a lock-up there into that final chicane, and he's now gone tumbling down the order even further, and he's now about to get past... nope, Beb's gotten past now, so he's gone down to 9th place. He was sitting in about 6th place. Fortunately, down 3 positions, he's into 9th, and is struggling to get back up to speed. Here we go now, into Arouge. He is slowly starting to close that gap down. See how he does. Alessio now pits. Unfortunately, the first drivers to pit very early on when the race is still on, so there'll be 1 pit stop ahead, giving everyone a head start. You're here to watch the competition. Nadim's here to enjoy the race whilst he's on vacation instead of enjoying the beach. I mean, Nadim, where did you even go for holiday? I don't even know. Have a look now. Moroccan tried to look for a move down the inside into the Rivage chicane. Wobby McQueen just ahead of him, parking his car beautifully. We got a fight further ahead. We got Med going too wide with Rico for the lead of this race. And I think there might have been contact between the Aston Martin and the Ferrari, as now Med has to go off of the track, ruining the billboard there. And has now found himself demoted down to 8th place, being pushed wide now from Beb as well. Maybe he can fight back and just recover from just a little bit of a fight there at the top there, but now Rico is into the lead of the race. Fat Cat is in for P2. He called it in the chat there earlier. Could have qualified for P2, but now he's running in P2. Wobby McQueen back up into P3. The Grill go up into 4th place. 6 positions gained from qualifying, so an incredible start for the Williams driver. And Moroccan and Zitzi are back together once again for a 3rd row lockout for this race thus far. Very bunched up grid, very close between each other. We've got a little bit of a fight between teammates. Mav getting ahead of Landshark now after a very poor start for the two of them. Well, hopefully, I do hope to see this, that the 2 drivers will be able to catch up to the rest of the grid and have the pace to battle on even further. As Fat Cat puts in the new fast lap, he's half a second behind Rico, and he's all over the gearbox of Rico now, coming into a Rouge. Let's jump on board with him if we can, without it jittering a little too much. Can we see him go into a Rouge? Of course, DRS will not be enabled. This is a bit of a roller coaster. Let's have a look from Wobby's perspective and see how much he's going to close in. And he is closing in quite quickly. Let's jump back to him. He's going too wide now, and into the lead of the race goes Fat Cat. Batman into Lacombe. Fat Cat now leads the race, and unfortunately he's been pushed to the runoff road with a purple first sector. I don't think he managed to stop the car in time, so unfortunately could not manage to lead the race for long enough. So far we've only had... Well, no, I'll count it. We've had 3 leaders in this race now. Fat Cat managed to lead it for about a split second. The real GOAT now closing in that gap to Moroccan. He lost the position to Zitzi. He then gained a position on Zitzi. He's now trying to gain a position on Moroccan. So let's see what he can do. So this will be a very strong start to the season for Williams if they can keep up this pace. But I think last season they were not in the top 10 if I recall correctly. I certainly would love to see them fighting for a good, consistent number of points, as we have a very tight grid so far. If you have a look there, you can see, whilst Rico may be pulling out a second of a gap now, we have practically a second between every single driver all the way down to 13th place. Mav and Landshark are just a bit behind, and unfortunately Alessio, with a very poor start, a very unfortunate start, has now had to pit, and I believe that will be a pit for a fresh front ring and therefore a fresh set of tyres as well. Certainly 1 pit stop behind, and the only thing that potentially could bring them back is if they have the pace or they have a safety car. But hopefully we don't have a safety car, because so far this is some incredibly clean racing and a very exciting racing thus far. Now as we see Wobby McQueen closing that gap, Fat Cat's lost a lot of the time to Rico ahead, so Fat Cat now into a Rouge. Wobby slowly closing that gap down. He's down to 4 tenths, he's down to 4.5 tenths actually. And I think he's just waiting and taking his time and managing those tyres. Perhaps the rain is not in for a while, and annoyingly, we don't get to see when the weather is due to come in, as we see Takoda and Gamakachi going too wide into Lacombe's. Takoda, unfortunately, being run slightly off of the road there But I think plenty of space was given to the inside there, and so Dakota could not go anywhere else. But I think, unfortunately, we can't see the weather. So whilst this is quite interesting racing, and I'd love to know the strategies, we don't really have a good idea as to strategies, because the game will only suggest the two-stop or the one-stop strategy for Inters for the duration of this race. So perhaps, could we have a sneak peek? Can an engineer jump in, have some information for us? It'd be interesting to see what kind of weather we've got, for what the predictions we've got. For tier 4, 3, and 2, the rain disappeared around about lap 6 or 7. Well, that's basically when you could certainly see that you are moving into a transition period for the slick tires. So it'll be nice to know when we get to that. Webby, Nadim in the chat saying, Rico took me leaving Aston Martin personally, and he's back on top. Indeed he is, now with a 2-second gap, leading the race from Fat Cat. And Wobby is still quite close behind. The real GOAT as well. He's kept that gap down to about half a second for the duration of this these 4 laps, sorry. As Rico puts in the new fast lap, a 1:54.7. I think the track is certainly starting to ramp up, as I don't see any rain particles coming down. I think the rain might have stopped already, so we might have that transition window that I was just mentioning about earlier. I think we might already be in that, and this could be the comeback for McLaren if they get their strategy hit perfectly. Because whilst they may be at the back of the grid, they can pit earlier before everyone else and maybe get it right, as we have a bit of a battle here, as we have Med going too wide down the back straight, down the Kemmel straight, and without DRS, he manages comfortably to get ahead of the real GOAT into the braking zone. Med now up into P5, and his next target on the hit list will be Moroccan just ahead of him. Maybe the real GOAT can come back, but thus far it's not been eventful. He's now 3/10 back. So Med now closing in on Moroccan. He once was leading the race. An unfortunate contact between him and Rico, I believe, is the reason why we saw Med spinning off and becoming a Ferrari lawnmower. And so with that lawnmower effect, he tumbled down to 8th place. So far, a good recovery now to 5th lap of this session. Have to see what he can do for the rest of this session. So far, though, I have to say I'm very excited for the rest of the season if it's going to be more racing like this, because it is very close together, and this is wet racing. Might I remind you, this is wet racing without DRS, and I say that as well. As I say that, sorry, Med going just a bit wide, and I think the real GOAT thought he had a whiff of a chance to take the position back and really close that gap down, but unfortunately is not quite close enough. 3.5 tenths back. But the track is certainly... Oh my god, he's gone for a mighty dive bomb into the final chicane. We also have Riyadh at the back there also going for a bit of a spin. Med managing to recover from the spin, not losing too much time, but the GOAT is now further back, and Riyadh has fallen very far down the order. And you can see Rebellious just in the back trying to take some victories from the scraps of the drivers ahead of him. Let's see if Rebellious can make a comeback in this race. Slightly further ahead, we got Moroccan. Moroccan's now pushing Wobby along, now coming down towards the Kemmel Straight. There is certainly a good amount of dry track there, but we're going to go too wide down the Kemmel Straight. Wobby with the inside line, Moroccan with the outside line, and around the outside goes a Moroccan into P3. What a move for the Mercedes driver, and he now puts it back on for a potential podium position after a P3 in Tier 2 just a couple hours ago. So Moroccan with a sensational move into Lacombe. Let's see, it is still that transition period. We are still in that moment of when do the slick tires come on. Could Wobby somehow take the position back just purely by a better strategy call for when they dive in the pits for the slicks? I am excited to see when we get to that position, because I think actually we might be one lap away from that. Rico with a new fastest middle sector. I think we certainly will be at that point where slicks are an idea to pit onto. I do wish we had an engineer who could jump into the chat, just quickly have a shout at me if slicks are an option just yet. Because unfortunately, unlike Martin Brundle and David Croft in real life, we don't have a weather radar. we have a video game that isn't so stable. So we're trying to do. I am trying to do my best to give you the best information that I have. As Morocco puts in a new personal best. Med back up into P4. He's fighting with Wobby again. And around the outside, I think there might have been a slight contact between the two of them. But Med now up into 4th place. Wobby now looking at the rear diffuser of a Ferrari instead of a Mercedes. And we have the real GOAT into the pits. He is our first slick runner. There we go. I don't need an engineer. I've got the real GOAT. He is my engineer, and he's opted to go for the mediums now. Could this be the optimum position? If we have Beb going too wide with Zitzi, he's taking the position from Zitzi up into 7th place. Sorry, 6th place. Oh my god, I can't get the orders right. There was another fight, and I apologize. I have not seen it. Yeah, well, Nadim, I own my voice cracks. I don't shy away from it. But now we have a 3-way battle. We got Gamakichi. I will pronounce that one day perfectly right. Zitzi and Beb all fighting very close. Just half a second between the 3 of them so far. Med with the first driver to get a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And considering how close this race has been so far in the rain, it certainly will be detrimental to him at the end of this session. Unfortunately, Gamma going very wide into that second corner for Lacombe has lost a lot of time. Now he's down to 6 tenths from Zitzi, and Zitzi as well. Oh, I've jumped to the wrong driver. Zitzi's also lost a lot of time, down to 1.7 seconds behind Beb. And Rico still just smooth sailing, 3 seconds ahead of the pack. And he's not pitting. Alessio and the real GOAT have pitted for mediums, but Rico hasn't pitted yet, so it isn't the optimum time just yet, as we have Med into the pits. So Med is pitting. Never mind, I spoke too soon. Wobby into the pits as well. Gawakachi into the pits and Takoda into the pits. It could be the time we see medium tyres for the Ferrari man. The Alfa Romeo goes for the hard compound tyres, and the Haas in front of him will be going for the mediums as well. I think the mediums will be the majority chosen tyre for this race, the rest of this race. Now, as we have Med coming out the pit, still managing to maintain that position over Webby, and will have a bigger advantage, at least in the starting portion of this stint on these tyres. As you see Wobby just weaving, he's trying to get the tyre temps up, trying to get fighting as close as he can as he's right behind. But DRS has not been enabled, but I suspect that these drivers are expecting it to come out in the next few sectors. I do imagine it is quite dry enough for it to come out now, or for it to be enabled. There it is. Speak of the devil, and it shall appear. DRS has now been enabled. Everyone on the Inters might be considering that it could be time to switch to the slicks, but we'll have to see now, because it all comes down to Med. Med is basically going to be the test dummy of sorts to see, is he going to be able to close that gap down? If he's able to close that gap down rapidly in this next sector, Rico is at risk of losing the lead of this race, and the slicks for when he pitted was the optimum time. We'll have to see now, as Rico's coming in down towards the bus stop chicane. He has just previously lapped Alessio, which is very unfortunate for him. And we have a virtual safety car. He's definitely going to pit now, as we have a driver in the wall there, and I think that's Beb without a front wing in that third sector. He is brought out the VSC, and so now we are going to get the pack bunched up together, and he's going to pit. He's going to lose a lot of time, because of course he has to replace that front wing, but everyone who is on the intermediates will certainly pit now. But unfortunately that does mean Med loses out on so much. Having said that though, here he comes down the back straight. He's actually going to gain quite a few positions, but not as many as he once was had the virtual safety car not come out. He does come round the first corner. Is he going to get ahead of Moroccan? The tentative start, he does not get ahead of Moroccan, sorry, he does get ahead of Zitzi, the other Mercedes, so he still does gain up into 4th place. He certainly will have a massive tyre advantage to the hard compound tyre runners around him, but the majority of the grid have opted for the mediums. So now, as the drivers will adhere to the delta. Unfortunately, because it's a virtual safety car, we will not have Alessio back into the fight. He will not be able to unlap himself fully. And DRS is enabled yet again as we have the race going. And Med with a massive snap of oversteer, trying to get heat into his tyres. He's now heavily under pressure from, I believe that was Riyadh just behind. But fortunately, I think he might have had that snap, but he's lit up those tyres just enough. And has already pulled out half a second of a gap to Riyadh behind. Having said that, though, he's now closing that gap down. This is going to be a fight that's going to go on for a while. These mediums will have certainly a huge advantage for at least the next 5 to 7 laps before the hards are going to have a bigger advantage. So it's down to these next handful of laps. What can Med put in? Can he be putting in those blitzing times, those blitzing fire lap times to be able to pull out a big enough gap to accommodate for the lack of grip he'll have once the hards come into the picture? As Webby and Zitzi are going too wide now. They're coming down towards Blanchimont. Are they going to still go too wide? Let's go on board with them. No, they haven't. But Webby now loses position, but he certainly has the pace, and DRS will be enabled. He's looking to go for a move around the outside. Zitzi with the inside line into the bus stop chicane. Webby can't quite get his car stopped, but he's got the inside line again. DRS is enabled, and it will be open, as you can see there. And unfortunately, a very poor exit out of the bus stop chicane for Webby. He could not quite close the gap, almost rear-ending the Mercedes driver ahead of him, but he stops the car just in time and has now lost from what was 2 tenths just a moment ago. He is now down to 6 tenths. Shut up, Nadim. I was just looking at I wasn't trying to count how many drivers, okay? I'm trying my best. Thank you, dearest. As we see Wobby pulling out ahead of Zitzi. And now Beb as well is into this fight. And Beb with the inside line. And now the outside line is going all the way around. And now Zitzi has lost not just 1, but 2 positions in just 1 sector. Just going through Lacombs. And he's lost those 2 positions. There's now a 5-6 lockout for Alfa Romeo, as Beb receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Nadim, you shouldn't even be here. You should be enjoying your holiday instead of watching this exciting thrill of a race. As we see Beb coming back at Webby. Beb going too wide into the second sector. He's got the inside line for the next corner. And Webby is now lost out. And now Zitzi is back into this fight. Zitzi now with a 3-second time penalty. Alessio with a new fastest lap of the session. Unfortunately, not in the top 10. Will not be able to score points. And my game is stuttering. No. Yes, I voice cracked. I know. Into the bus stop chicane. I think the timing screens are frozen. But we can very clearly see Zitzi is closing that gap down very quickly to Wobby ahead of him. And this is all helping Beb ahead because Beb stormed away. And now across the line, Zitzi with the inside line going into the first corner. He will have a very good control of his car and is now comfortably ahead of Webby. Webby backing out of the fight before they get into Eau Rouge. Armin, can we please keep the chat in English? Thank you very much. But Rico is going strong in P1. A 5.5 second gap and then a 6-second gap. And here comes Webby again with the DRS advantage back up into 7th place. This is some strong fighting between Webby and Zitzi. And this is the kind of fighting we love to see here at Phoenix. Because this is competitive as hell. I mean, the top 4 are in a race of their own. But from position 7 and 8 at the moment, we've just got a fight that's going to go on for a very long time. Both of these drivers are on the same strategy. One of them pitting a lap earlier than the other. So it'll be a matter of driver skill. Who is going to be able to make it and push it the furthest? Of course, Zitzi as well with a 3-second time penalty. And there goes Wobby going down the inside. Or Zitzi, sorry, looking to go down the inside. But you have to remember, Zitzi has a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and unfortunately will have to serve that at the end of the race session. So unless he can pull out a 3-second gap to the driver behind, he will be losing out at least 1 position, as Rico puts in the new fastest lap, a 1:46, and Gamakichi, sorry, with another 3-second time penalty for track limits. Fat Cat with a new fast lap, a 1:46. I think Fatcat might be trying to push for that position, med with a 1:45.8 on those mediums. Little love tap between Zitzi and Wobby. I think that is just a bit of frustration. The Mercedes driver has been stuck behind Wobby now for a whole lap, as it was just a lap ago when he got round. But now Zitzi's going to have DRS. He's going to have so much more speed on this Kemmel straight, and so it's going to be a comfortable overtake for him. And Webby quickly slips into the slipstream, or moves into the slipstream behind. Wobby now just has to keep it as consistent as possible going through Lacombe, now coming down towards the Ravage chicane, or the Ravage hairpin. Oh my god. And Rico with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. I mean, it doesn't affect his race that much. At the moment, he is looking at a 6-second gap, so he's only going to drop down to about 3 seconds behind him. But if a safety car comes in at any point now, Rico has put a huge amount of pressure on him to push as hard as he can and make sure he consistently keeps a 3-second gap behind him. As he puts in a new fastest lap, I think he's pushing it. We have a yellow flag, and I think Alessio has dived into the pits potentially. We'll have to see. But I think Alessio is done from this race. Unfortunately, lapped. They did not retire in the pits, but they've been lapped in this race, and it has just not gone well for them at all. And so they'll be out of the race, and unfortunately, a penalty will be coming their way as well, as we do try to request our drivers to retire in the pit lane, so your car, your AI, does not get in the way for anyone else behind. Down the Kemmel straight, you can see Beb closing that gap down. He's got the inside line, he's got the DRS, and he's got the position. Beb up into 5th place. A brilliant and a very easy move for the Williams driver. But still, a very long way to go for the Williams driver. He's still going to be under pressure from Riyadh, as a lot of drivers, you can see the majority on the grid actually does have the hards, as Nadim rightly so corrected me in the chat there. It's actually 8 runners, or 7 runners now on the medium, and 9 runners on the hards. So the majority strategy is the hards, and I think a lot of people reckon the mediums will die far too quickly for the hards to be, for the mediums to be any good, which is why the hards gives a consistent pace for them. So it's now a waiting game. Can Riyadh stay within that 1 second, or perhaps drop out if he has to save his tyres, but manage to maintain a good gap to Beb before those tyres die off? Alessio says his engineer is stupid. To be fair, the race in Zitzi with a 3-second time penalty. The race engineer in this game is a little silly, as Beb puts in the new fastest lap, a 1:45.492. That was an incredible lap time. And unfortunately, Alessio was quite frustrated because of the engineer. I mean, the engineer is quite silly in this game. He does sometimes suggest for you to put hard compound tyres in Monaco in the rain. But, you know, we can't have a go at Jeff. I mean, Jeff got fired. We can't have a go at Mark. We gotta do what we can do. But it's unfortunate, and hopefully we'll be able to see you back racing with us, Arrow, or Alessio, next week around Hungary, and perhaps that will be a track where your engineer can get everything right, and you can get back up there into the points. We have a bit of a change in order at the back there, as we see Takoda and Rebellious having a tussle at the end of the Kemmel straight. Takoda, who was being cheered on by a few in the chat there for winning this race, is actually down in the last point scoring position, currently fighting for 10th place, as Rebellious, I believe, might have gone a little bit wide there, and the Haas for Gamakichi is now ahead of the Ferrari man. Gamma keeping that gap very close, or very keeping a small gap ahead. Thank you. As he goes too wide into Puon. No, into Blanchimont. He's gone too wide into Blanchimont, and unfortunately was not brave enough, or rather was bold enough to back out of the situation, knowing it would have been a very risky move. Now going into the bus stop chicane, he's going to hope to have a better exit, and he does have the DRS advantage, but unfortunately the straight is not quite long enough for him to come back at him. But if he keeps up this close racing up through Eau Rouge, he's going to have a very long straight down the Camel Straight, an extra 12 kilometers per hour advantage, and will he be able to make the move and take 10th place? So we have Fushy Wushy getting past Wobby just ahead of him. Fushy Wushy now up into 11th place. Now let's have a look, as Gamma does have the DRS advantage, but Dakota goes to the inside line, trying to go around the outside. Very close fighting between the two of them, but Gamma unfortunately could not quite get his car turned in as he wanted to be. He's going to come back at him again for the inside line into the reverse chicane. There is contact between the two of them, but I think there is no damage to either party. And now into the no-name chicane, or the no-name corner, Gamma finds himself up into a point-scoring position, and Dakota down to 11th place. But remember, Gamma does still have a 3-second time penalty to serve at the end of this race and cannot be served in the pits. So now it is down to trying to pull out a massive gap as much as he can to the drivers behind him to mitigate and reduce how many positions he loses from that track penalty. And Rico, speaking of pulling a gap, Rico now has a 7.6 second gap to Fat Cat behind, so that 3-second time penalty isn't doing too much for him. And the same for Med with a 3-second time penalty, currently has a 5.6 second gap to Riyadh just behind him, so currently sitting in a fairly comfortable P4, but we'll have to see what happens. There's still 6 laps to go as we see Gamma now cross the line to start their 16th lap of this race. Does seem like a lot of the racing has calmed down. I say that though, but here comes Beb. Oh my god, Beb is on fire. Those mediums are working like a charm for him. He's now going to have the DRS advantage, just 2/10 back at the start of this Camel Straight, and now going too wide, and I think well before the break zone is Rico has retired! Rico has retired from this session, is out of the session. Fat Cat now leads, and we have a full safety car at the end of this race. We're going to have just a couple laps of racing, and now Fat Cat leads, Moroccan in P2, and Med into provisional P3. What happened to Fat Cat? What? Rico, after a sensational qualifying session, clearing the field by 1.4 seconds, leading the field by 7.7 seconds, sorry, and a 3-second time penalty that mattered nothing. That mattered not. And he has gone. Rico SK for Aston Martin have retired. And we now have a full safety car, lap 16 of 22. And so now this opens the door for every driver behind to potentially pit now for a fresh set of softs and get racing on the fastest tyre set they have possible in the slicks. Rico leaving the session, quite understandably. I can understand how frustrated he might be. Let's have a look. Fat Cat stays out, Moroccan is in the pits, Med is in the pits, Beb's going in, Riyadh's going in, Zitzi's going in. I can't imagine any driver shying away from a double stack, because anything will be better than their tyres. Alfa Romeo going for a double stack, Gamma should be going in the pits as well, Dakota as well. Everyone into the pits, and it's going to be a double stack for the McLarens. Here comes Landshark. Unfortunately, 24 seconds behind. He's now going to try and catch up to the grid. Currently going through the final sector. But I am astonished. I'm also astonished to see that Fat Cat Blizzo in the chat saying apparently Rico bottled it. Very unfortunate to see him, but Fat Cat has opted to not pit off of those hard compound tyres. So Fat Cat's going to be at a massive disadvantage to the drivers around him. And the same goes for Landshark. Oh no, Landshark's in the pits. And the same goes for the Real Goat. So now the Alpine and the Williams driver are on a hugely opposing strategy to the rest of the grid on softs. And Fat Cat and the Real Goat have got to absolutely push the limit on these hards if they want to try and keep their position in this race. But that was going from a comfortable P1 to now that's it for Rico. But this has to be a very good, promising start from Aston Martin. They may not be walking away from this race, but they certainly have a very quick driver on the grid in their race heats. And so you have to watch out, because we got Hungary next week, and I think Rico's going to come back, and it's going to be redemption day for him next week. Panos says in the chat, he's TP for Mercedes, asking if Moroccan's points will count for the constructors. It will count for the constructors, as he is an approved reserve for Mercedes. Rico, mate, in the chat, what happened there? Someone was saying earlier you bottled it. What happened? How'd you bottle it? I was so focused on the fighting behind because you were so comfortably ahead. I didn't see what happened at all, and I feel so bad. I'm so upset that I didn't see what happened. As the Real Goat now pits. So Fat Cat is the only driver on the grid, and he's now leading the race on old, hard compound tyres. Rico saying he's just lost it. That was very unfortunate for you, Rico. It was a very promising race for you, but, I mean, you showed your true colours today. I mean, you haven't lost your pace at all from 22 to 23. So everyone has to be very aware that you are here to fight, and you are not backing down. No pressure, Rico. I mean, we'll have to see. So now, every driver on the grid, except for the Alpine in P1, is on the soft tyres. A quick run through the penalties. We've got Med in P3 with a 3-second time penalty. We've got Beb with 3 seconds as well. Zitzi with 6 seconds, pardon me. Gamakichi with 3 seconds, and Rebellious, with 3. Pardon me, I've got hiccups, not this again. Rico saying, there's not a single race I won't win. I'm going to beat Nadim. Well, let's see about that, because Nadim will be back for the second half of the season. And it's going to be a very exciting second half of the season. If you haven't seen the calendar already, we'll be racing... so the rest of the calendar, in fact, whilst we have the safety car. Round 1, as you can see, we're around Belgium. Next week, we'll be at Hungary. Then we have a Silverstone sprint for round 3. And be finishing off the first half of the season at Zandvoort. Then after a 1-week season break, we'll be coming back for round 5 at Imola. Everyone's favourite track. I know everyone loves that track and no one hates it at all. And then we have 3 tracks following the real-life calendar for where we are racing around Singapore for a sprint race around Singapore. And we are racing around Japan, Suzuka's Japanese track, Suzuka. And the season finale will be around the Qatar track, Losail, which we've seen a lot of good battles there. We've actually at Phoenix, we've hosted a 100% race around that track, which a lot of people have had a lot of fun. Rico saying, I know that Nadim will come back, so I wanted to win every race in the first half of the season to have enough points so he can't catch me. Well, if you are truly the gingerbread man, then you've got 3 races to go to try and close that gap down. We have safety car in, so Fat Cat's going to lead the pack, and I think he's already gone. There's a bit of a bump between the Ferrari and the Mercedes, and Fat Cat has gone a little bit wide out of the final corner, and Moroccan is very close behind. Med's going too wide. He's going to go for an inside move into the first corner, now into La Source. Med getting swallowed up by the pack and is down to P4. Beb up into P3, going too wide into Rouge. Who's going to back out? And it's going to have to be Beb. Moroccan maintains P2 in the race. Riyadh still in 5th place. Ziti, and there's a yellow flag for Beb. Beb is spinning and spinning out of this race. Down into 11th, 12th, 13th, and now he's going to be in last place with front wing damage. Med back up into P3. And Med, in fact, has gone up. Moroccan is out of this race. Lap 19, just after one safety car, we have a second, and Med now leads this race, and we're going to have safety car for 1 lap, and we're going to have 1 lap of racing. Med is now leading the race. Fat Cat in P2, Riyadh in P3, Zitzi in P4, Fushy Wushy in 5, Wobby for P6, Gamakichi in P7, Dakota in P8, Mav back into the points for the first time in a very long time in P9, and the real go in 10th. Rebellious just outside of the points in P11, Landshark in P12, and Beb, after being involved in a lap, in the first lap, restart lap incident, you can very clearly see he has some damage. Or no, he doesn't. He doesn't have damage, so I think a driver ahead of him potentially might have damage. It's Med. Med has missing end plates on his front wing, and the driver's going to catch the safety car. Med with front wing damage and a 3-second time penalty. A safety car at the end of the race. We're going to have 1 safety car lap and 1 racing lap. Or sorry, 2 racing laps. No, 1 racing lap. I'm not wrong. You say Taco's going to win. Taco is in 8th place, mate. He's going to catch 7 places if he's going to try and walk away with a race victory. It certainly will be interesting to see. But it is indeed a Ferrari driver, Med at the top of the leaderboard there. With the front wing damage, Fat Cat currently sitting in position for P2. Riyadh for Alfa Romeo, his first signed race with Alfa Romeo, starting the season off strong with P3 and his teammate down in P6, potentially with no penalties at the moment, and he's got those fresh softs just like everyone else. Could he make a few positions up? Zitzi as well with 6 seconds will certainly be a position that he could potentially take, but Moroccan out of this race, Rico out of this race, and now we have a completely changed podium finish, or potential podium finish, for the end of this race as we wait for the 2 Williamses to catch up. If I have a quick look at the tyres, yeah, they've both have pitted 4 fresh softs, and potentially they could be back into the points, the Williams, as they only have to gain 2 positions, and mind you, one of those is Rebellious with a 3-second time penalty. Fat Cat still going strong in P2 with the hard compound tyres, so far an incredible race for him. I don't know how he's done it so far, but the safety car will be in this lap. We will then have 2 racing laps, and DRS will not be enabled for those 2 laps, so it is purely down to the drivers and no additional speed from the DRS. This is going to be a very exciting finish to this race. For those new who have tuned in, there we go, safety car in this lap. Welcome to our first race of the season for Season 6 here at Phoenix Sim Sport as we race around Belgium. Qualifying was torrential downpour for the entire session, and the race thus far was rain to dry session, and it wasn't a simple race though. We've had 1 virtual safety car, we've had 2 safety cars, and the 2 safety cars were for the death of Rico and Moroccan, as Rebellious got a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Le Mav, which is very odd indeed, but I think none of them have any penalties. Med is taking it very slow. He's taking it as far as the line as Fat Cat has retired from the session. Fat Cat has retired from the session. I think we're about to go racing again, I hope. We are. I think. Are we racing? I don't know if we're racing. I think we are. It's just stuck with a safety car. But Med is now leading the race with Riyadh in P2 and Zitzi in P3. Med with a 1.3 second gap. A 1.3 second gap to Riyadh, and he has to push it now. He has 3 seconds of time penalties that he has to make a gap of behind if he wants to win this race. But Riyadh is currently on the cusp of taking a race victory. If he can close that gap down, Wobby is pushing. He takes 4th place from Fushy Wushy, and he's got potentially 3rd place in the bag because Zitzi still has 6 seconds of time penalties to serve. What is going on this race? As Fakat says, his game is disconnected and he's out of this race. Armin's still saying Taco's gonna win, but we will have to see as Taco is in 7th place. The real GOAT takes 10th place from Landshark. Come on, Alpha! This will be a sensational start for Alfa Romeo after they had a very unfortunate qualifying session after just qualifying P3 and P7. They definitely thought they had this in the back, but Rico with a sensational lap, Moroccan with a sensational lap, Fat Cat Batman with a sensational lap. But here comes Med. Riyadh, half a second back now. He is rapidly closing that gap down. I'm losing my voice, but this is incredible racing, as now the race leader is heavily under pressure, as Riyadh is down to half a second behind, Zitzi is half a second behind, and Wobby is still just a second behind. Fushy Wushy and Dakota are going too wide down the main straight, and Dakota up into 6th place. This is now the final lap of the race, and can this be the lap that Riyadh puts his car into the lead of the race? We have a 4th race leader. Up into Eau Rouge, he is still just a bit back. DRS is not enabled. It is down to purely what can these drivers do. Zitzi all over the gearbox of Riyadh. Could he be going for a move down the inside? He's close enough, but unfortunately backs out of that situation, going to Lacombs. Riyadh with a poor exit, and there goes Zitzi going around the outside, trying to make a move. And he does manage to make the move, but he's not quite close enough to stick it. No, he is! Into the braking zone. Zitzi into P2, Riyadh and Wobby into P4. But Gamakichi is into P5. And Gamakichi coming out of the no-name corner loses control of his car into the barrier, or into the branding, sorry. Now into last place, Dakota up into 5th place, Mav into 7th, and Beb back into the points. As we have a fight between Mav and between Rebellious. Mav trying to go for the inside line, Rebellious trying to stick it around the outside, now the inside line. He maintains 8th place. And Wobby McQueen with a 3-second time penalty. At the end of this race, Med still leading the race, and Zitzi all over the gearbox. Could we have a 4th race leader before the race is over? Coming into the bus stop chicane, he's closing that gap down quickly, but he's backing out of the fight. Coming into this final corner, almost pushing Med across. But now coming down towards the line, Med is going to win the Belgian Grand Prix as DRS is enabled and Riyadh takes the win of the race. Dakota onto podium. The real go into 3rd place, Wobby into 5th, Fushy Wushy into 6th, Zitzi, both McLarens, Mav and Shark into 8th and 9th, and Beb to finish out the points. What a race! Taco did not win. Taco got 3rd place, but a sensational drive for him. What a drive! An incredible drive by everyone. Med, Riyadh and Taco drove brilliantly. It was very unfortunate to see Moroccan, to see Fat Cat and to see Rico all out of this race, but we have 3 new drivers on the podium for Tier 1. What a race! And that is it for Tier 1, and that is it for Round 1. We finish it in such a fashion. that I am very much looking forward to the end of this for the rest of the season. But I do hope we don't have any more DNFs, because it was a comfortable Rico finish, with a very unfortunate driver error. He lost it coming out of I think it was out of the Rivage chicane, the Rivage hairpin, and now Alfa Romeo score the most points in this session with 30 points together as a team. Ferrari with P2 and P11. Very unfortunate to see Rebellis just outside of the points. And Takoda, after qualifying 9th and chat predicted pole for him, he finishes in P3. I certainly want to have some interviews after this race, because that was a very exciting race indeed. Holy hell. I've no words. I have no words for this race. I really hope I have an interview with someone, because oh my god, that was very thrilling, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I do apologize if I was shouting at the end there, but that was a lot of fun. Oh, please tell me we can get some interviews going, because I definitely want to have a chat with at least with Riyadh and with Med as well. Takoda would be great as well if we can get him into the interview room. I'll have to see. There we go. We got a few drivers. We haven't got our podium finishes. Where are we going to see? When are we going to see our podium finishes? Let's get the standings back up, because I kind of forgot who won the race. No, I'm just kidding. Because Riyadh won the race. A sensational drive for the Alfa Romeo. Thank you very much, Blizzo. I do try my best, and I do apologize if I messed up my words. I do mess up my words quite often. But thank you very much, and I do quite enjoy this. But whilst we wait, unfortunately, we can't quite speak to the top 3. Let's actually have a look if I can grab them. We had Med up on P2. We had R1D4, which is Riyadh, and we had Takoda. Hopefully we can have an interview with them as soon as possible. But that was a very thrilling race. Let's see if they can join. Give me just a moment whilst I redirect them to get to the right, to the appropriate voice channel. I can then drag them in. We can have an interesting conversation for Riyadh and Med and Takoda. So let's get Riyadh in here. Our race winner for Alfa Romeo. Riyadh, I really hope I've pronounced your name correctly there, mate. But that was a sensational drive for you, and you managed to go from when you qualified P7, and you've managed to finish on the top step of the podium. How was that for you?
Quali was bad, but I think first of all to congratulations to other guys. Finished podium. It was an exciting race at the end. Qualification was not that great, but in the beginning of the race, I had a few mistakes. I dropped to P11. Then during the change of weather and virtual safety car, I took that opportunity and changed the tires. I think I had the P5 in that moment, and the rest is like I just holding up to the rest to some guys in front of me, trying to be more quickly in the hard tires. At the end, the safety car, so I put on the softs. So I think the whoever was the first place in that moment was it had 3 seconds and also damage. So he couldn't do anything more than I could keep up. I don't know who was behind me. So I don't know. I'm sorry because I don't know the name. I'm just new. He was very quick. He took me in the sector 2. I couldn't defend there, so basically after that I was last lap holding to 3 seconds behind first and second, and in the last 2 corners I tried to let Webby pass, but I didn't see 3 seconds. I passed to him first place, so basically I didn't. I was hoping to have 1-2 in this race where I will be second, but at the end I was the first. And congratulations to Webby. He was P5, but he's mad, so he's not satisfied.
That's fair enough. It was certainly a tough fight, but I mean, you still a very strong start for Alfa Romeo to secure a one and first and fifth. It's 35 points for the constructors already, ahead of the pack by I think a comfortable 15 points so far. So a very good start, and I mean for your first race with Alfa Romeo, I mean I'm sure they are very pleased with signing you for this position for this race.
I think they are got huge congratulations from the team, and this is I said more luckily than anything else, but I will take it. And P1 is always special, and first race I hope I will repeat some other race also the same. So basically, I think Rico, I think that was the name. He was leading the pack all the time, and because of him, safety car came out. His DNF, but at the end, I think this was his victory, but he didn't make it. You saw his qualification run, amazing, really.
Very amazing, but still an incredible race for you. Very unfortunate race for him, but
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure he'll come back fighting without a doubt.
No,
Um,
no doubt.
but you fought very well. I as a commentator, I thank you for a very interesting race. You made sure Alfa Romeo scored a lot of points in Tier One, and I know as a Ferrari team principal, sister team to Alfa Romeo, I'm very proud of you. Well done for a season
Thank you,
debut with Phoenix. As a commentator as well, I thank you for a very exciting race. I look forward to what you
thank you.
have in store for us at Hungary next week.
Yeah, love the track.
Awesome. Do you think that could be a strong track for you? Do you think you could see yourself?
I think I need to be honest. I had a few laps preparation of this race. Just 1 hour before the race. I think I need to do more in next Sunday, because the guys are quick, very quick, and they will took any opportunity, any mistake of the driver in front of them. They will took it any mistake, and you can easily get behind. You will easily be behind them. So basically, preparation is success. Let's say success to the Hungary.
100%.
Technical track, very demanding, and any slight mistake will be punished. So preparation is everything.
Awesome. Well, that was a very exciting race. Congratulations again with that race
Thank
victory
you.
and 35 points for the team. So I certainly look forward to see what you have in store for us at Hungary. And
Thank,
I will speak to you next week.
thank you. Hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully, indeed.
Thank.
Unfortunately, we cannot. We're not going to be able to get an interview with our P2 finisher. Med is not in the waiting room at the moment, but we can still speak to our P3 Victor.
Hello.
Welcome to the Combox, Dakota. That was a sensational drive to go from qualifying in ninth and then
Yes,
finishing out after penalties up onto the podium
thank you.
step. How's that race for you, mate?
It was confusing because I went to the bathroom before the race, yeah, and I came in. I had like 5 seconds left, and I didn't get my setup. So I was racing with wet setup today, and I thought I was getting 1 point, and I got like 15. So I'm sad for my
Yeah.
teammate Rico. He kind of gifted me a P3 today because he crashed out in P1, but I can't help but save the day for him and my team.
Of course, you have to come in and be the hero.
Of course, man. Thank you very much.
Well, still an incredible drive. I mean, as you said, it is very unfortunate to see that Rico had a driver error coming out of out of Lacombe, and that was the end of his race. But that safety car really brought the pack together and gave you a solid chance to fight back. So his mistake wasn't lost for nothing, as we can clearly see with that podium.
I obviously yes, and like no, I'm not the type of guy to have no penalties at the end of a race. So for me to have no penalties, I got really lucky this time.
Very lucky.
And next time I need to see if I can get the right setup, so I can always be there.
Awesome.
For my boy Rico. Yes, let's go.
It's going to be redemption day next week. I have a good feeling both you and Rico are going to be up there fighting
Rico to be
very vigorously for P1 and P2 there.
We need that. We need those.
Do you think
Hungary?
Do you think Hungary's a strong track for you?
I love Hungary. Yes.
You love Hungary. Okay.
No rain though. I need no rain. If they put rain, I'm crying.
The weather will be announced tomorrow. I'll let you know in the attendance spots.
Fix it for dry, please. Like tell love you, and then
unfortunately I don't control the weather. You're gonna have an issue with Earth.
Oh, okay. Is it random? Is it like a wheel?
So every Monday, either myself or Mav will look at the weather predictions for the track itself in real life.
Whoa.
And that is the weather we race with.
Damn. Okay, that's all. No, but I think okay, that's cool. Wait, let me check.
So
I need to see this.
You can have a look now, but we look at every Monday. Monday is our day to look at the predictions.
Like for the Monday itself.
We wait till tomorrow so we can look at the 7-day prediction for Saturday and Sunday.
It says dry here, mate.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow. You know, weather can be unpredictable. You never know.
Boom, boom. Ching, ching,
we'll have
boom,
to see.
Let's go.
But thank you very much for a very exciting race.
Yes,
I mean, you had 4 drivers in the chat all cheering you on to get pole.
Yeah, they were all on my call, mate.
Okay, well, there you go. You had the support, and hopefully...
I didn't want to do it, but they did it, and they gave me extra speed with my wet setup. 22, 18 wings. Let's go.
Hopefully, you'll have the support you need for Hungary, and you'll be able to get it up on pole. But thank you for joining, mate, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
I'm not sure about pole. Thank you, but yeah, next week we go.
Confidence is key, mate. You got this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much.
And for one final interview before we close it out, we do have the McLarens sitting in the call. So let's get all of the McLarens in here. It's a massive crew. So we've got Jakob, race engineer for McLaren. We've got, who have I just dragged in? Mav, race driver and team principal for McLaren. We then also have Cthulhu and Landshark. Cthulhu, race engineer, and Landshark, the second driver. Well, not second driver as in less important, but the second pair of the whatever, you get what I mean. But a double points finish for McLaren after qualifying 13th and 14th. Landshark, let's start with you, mate. How was that race?
Well, I mean, first 18 or 19 laps, I was just hanging out for myself, and then there at the end, I just kind of kept dodging cars on the side of the road, and then I suddenly found myself in the points. So what seemed like a pretty boring race turned into a very good ending for me.
And I'm hoping at no point during the race did Mav turn into you, did he?
No. Turn one was a little sketchy. Good. I was trying not to get cleaned up, but somehow I came out of that corner behind Mav and we were off.
Yeah, he decided not to dive bomb me. Yep.
Well, that's glad to hear, Mav, you're improving. But I mean, you managed to improve so damn well. You're up into 8th place. How was that for you?
Yeah. I was kind of the same. You know, we were coming into this weekend on the back foot. We know that our pace was going to be probably, outside the points, and we were going to need to try and fight forward. So really at the start of the race, all we were trying to do was just keep going, keep pushing, and try and keep it clean. We were both on dry setups. We knew more would come towards the end of the race. We know then that, with the potential of safety cars there, it would probably liven things up towards the end. So we just kept pushing on, and working together, we were able to then make our way up into a double points finish. I think we were one of only 3 teams get a double points finish. So, absolutely brilliant work from the team. Brilliant support from Cthulhu all the way there as well. And shout out to Jakob as well, who's our engineer in training. Not quite full engineer just yet, but we're getting there. So I thought we'd bring you in here as well, so that you can taste the champagne, even though we we're quite on the podium this time. So.
Yeah, there is no champagne, unfortunately. It's apple
Oh
juice.
no,
No
apple juice. We
champagne.
get apple juice. Okay, we get apple juice.
Jakob, for your first race, engineering for McLaren, how was that for you?
It was good. It was a great result for the team. Double points in the first race, always a good sign of what's to come later in the season.
You were PR ready for that answer. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I've been thinking it for a little while.
That's good. And Cthulhu, what about yourself? You've been engineering for McLaren for, what is it, 2 seasons now? This is your second or third season?
I think this is my third.
Third season. How was this race today? How was Mav? Was it too difficult to manage him?
No, it's no. I think the bigger thing was it's the safety car, because I feel like we haven't had that in the last couple of seasons, was the big change of what I had to adapt to, but it worked out well in our favor the second time, not as much the first time. But that's the second safety car where everybody stopped for softs, kind of worked out in our favor. But it was the last 2-lap sprint was insanity, just trying to figure out like where we needed to push and what was going to end up, who was going to end up where, like just to try to get a double points finish, let alone get 8th and 9th that we got. It was, could we get 9th and 10th at the time, and then it was like, oh wait, we can get additional positions.
So an incredible race for the team then. Well, it was very exciting on the stream. I'm sure when you look back at it, you'll have your ears blown out because I was screaming at the end.
I thought you were going to run out of breath.
After the unfortunate end, we lost Rico due to driver error, and Fat Cat has his wheel disconnect, which is why both of them were out of the race. Moroccan, however, I have no clue what happened there. So we had a nice change in the order for the start of this season, and I'm certainly looking forward to what everyone has in store. And if McLaren, if you guys keep this up, getting into the points, I imagine you might have a podium coming your way at the end of the season. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll have
we'll
to
see. We'll see when the upgrades come, so yep, we'll get there.
Winning on
Right.
fundamentals is what we'll do.
Exactly. That's
Awesome.
it. That's it. Yep.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me for the interview.
Thank you.
I'm speechless after that race still. But thank you very much, and I will see you guys next week. And that will be it for Tier 1. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Nadim, I'm sorry, I asked you go enjoy your holiday. It turned out to be a very exciting race. I didn't plan it to be very exciting, but that was absolutely nuts. I loved every minute of that race, and if Tier 1 is going to continue to be as exciting, or the rest of the season for Tier 1 is going to be exciting as this, then I certainly look forward to it. Nadim, no, Rico did not win. Rico, in fact, DNF'd. Coming out of Lacombe, so corner 6 and 7, he had a driver error and he put his car into the wall, bringing out the safety car on lap 16. So we had a couple laps of racing, and right at the very end, we also had Moroccan crash out, so we had another safety car and Fat Cat as well, and so we had a safety car and only 2 laps of racing with no DRS, and Riyadh went on to finish the race in P1 for Alfa Romeo, P2 for Med in the Ferrari, and P3 for Takoda in the Aston Martin. So yeah, it was a leader's curse. No one was allowed to lead the race till the final lap, and the leader who finished the race didn't even win because of the track penalties. It ended up being Riyadh to win the race I think he finished the race in P3, and he finished on pole on the top step. So that'll be it for Tier 1. Very exciting race, if I haven't said that enough times already, but thank you everyone for joining. I thoroughly look forward to the rest of this season. I will see you next week. We do have Hungary next week. and it will just be a regular race. Sprint weekend will be Silverstone for the weekend after that, so it'll be interesting to see what we have in store for that race. The weather will be announced tomorrow afternoon, so be sure, drivers, be aware of that and have a look for the attendance message and check out what the weather will be. But your race winner for Tier 1, Alfa Romeo on pole with 25 points. Fastest lap goes to Zitzi in P6 after 6 seconds of penalties were served at the end of the race. And Alfa Romeo end the first round with 35 points at the top of the championship standings, the constructor standings. Thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you next week.